30s, we have to have some advice to give. Let's get into all the juicy and dirty gossip. And the rest, well, we'll just figure it out along the way.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Structured Chaos. I'm Kyra, and today we're getting into all of the thoughts that I have been carrying around all week. Welcome back. I hope that everyone had a great weekend, and I hope that you guys are ready because the news was messy this week. The week was eventful, and the Valley reunion gave me plenty to talk about with you guys. So let's jump right on in. My dad is here right now. I am so happy to have him here. He lives in Florida and we do not get the opportunity to see each other often. And so it has been so great having him here. He's getting a procedure done, and so it's been nice to just like have the uninterrupted time with him. And on top of that, what also lined up really well was my friend Mike was on tour in San Diego. I had mentioned that last week that I was going to go to his concert, so it was really great for my dad to be able to go and see him. He hasn't seen him in probably 17 years, 18 years. So it was so nice for them to see each other and for my dad to really get to see him perform because obviously, 18 years ago, he wasn't doing what he's doing today. And so that was really fun. But I have to tell you guys what happened on our way home yesterday. So we're in the Uber on our way home, and it's me, my dad, my friend, and her husband. And the Uber like we're all just like talking, and the Uber driver kind of like keeps getting into our conversation, which like fine, but okay, like whatever. And then in the middle of the ride, she like turned down the music, put the window up, and then asked us if we were going to tip her. And I was so taken aback because I was like, there's no way, like, where are you going with this? Like, that's such a weird thing to just say, like, in the middle, like, hey, are you guys planning on tipping me? Because I was like, well, what is she going to do? Like, if we say no, is she going to just like drop us off on the side of the freeway or something? Like, what is the point of asking this question? So then she proceeds to carry on, and she was like, if you are going to tip me, can I have cash, or can you Zelle me, or Cash App, or Venmo? Because that way I get it. And I said, I'm so sorry. I said, because it's like silent and awkward in the car. So I'm like trying to make conversation. I said, are they taxing your tips? I said, I used to drive for Lyft years ago. I don't know if like the policies have changed, but I thought that you as the driver get 100% of your tips. And she's like, yeah. She's like, but then I'll have it like right now. And I said, are you not like able to cash out your days instantly? And she's like, well, sometimes and sometimes not. And I was like, oh, okay. And like, again, like you could just like feel how uncomfortable all of us were because like just the way in which she was saying it. And so we kind of just like left it alone, and we were like, like, okay. And so then we get to my house, and she was like, well, do you have Venmo? And I said, honestly, we will tip through the app. I don't have any cash on me, and I don't have Venmo, and my dad doesn't have Venmo, and he's paying for it, which that wasn't the case, but I just was like trying to say something. And I just like couldn't believe it. Like that has never been asked of me in an Uber. And I do understand like parts of where she was coming from. Again, I think it was like just like delivery. It was like very uncomfortable. Had we arrived at our destination and then she said, hey guys, if you are planning on tipping me, I would love it if you guys had like cash, or if you wanted to Venmo me or whatever, like that is just easier for me. Totally understand if you don't want to, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Like that I could be much more receptive to. And also like, I'm not going to Venmo you because I don't really want you having like my first and last name. Like you've already made me feel weird. And I just was just like, what? Who taught, like, you're probably not getting tips if you keep this up. Like, you should probably not say this to your riders, because I fear that you're not making the tips that you would if you just let them be them. And it like felt like just this like pressure. And I know that we now live in this society where it is tipping culture everywhere, and it's just so crazy what people's expectations are, I guess, or not even expectations, but they're, yeah, I mean, the audacity that they have to like expect things, it was so weird. And another thing that is weird is, okay, I just like the difference between men and women. And I meant to bring this up last week and I forgot. And then it happened again. So I was like, oh my gosh, I have to talk about it this week. So I just don't understand what it is with like men and dirt and like construction. I don't get it. So near my work, they are, I don't know, going to build something, but it's just like dirt. Like, it's just like ground and dirt. It's like a corner lot. They could be making a parking lot. They could be making housing. Like, I don't even, like, there's no indication of what it's going to be. And then like it's all fenced off. And then there's like that like green, I don't know, like cloth around the fence, like that's normally on construction sites. I am not exaggerating when I tell you I have seen about 6 to 8 different men just taking pictures of it. I don't know what they're taking a picture of. Don't know why they're taking the picture. It is literally just dirt that exists there. And like people are going out of their way to like go above the fence or like try to get it in like a slit in between to take a picture. And it's always men. And it's like, I just don't understand the fascination. And from what I know, like there's not like any negative chatter around the town of like, whatever they're putting up there, and people may not like be happy about it. Like I've not heard any buzz about that. So I think it's really just like their love of seeing construction. I don't know. I don't get it. If anyone would like to comment and let me know, that would be wonderful. But like, what? Like, what's exciting about this? And I know that men can say that about a lot of the things that women do, but I feel like at least our things are like pretty and nice that we love to do. And so that's kind of it. My dad and I are going to a Padres game tonight. So that will be fun. He's never seen the park before, so I'm excited to show him that. And then it was really, really nice. Also this week, my friend Kiyomi was in town. Remember, she is my friend that got married a few months ago and tore her MCL at her wedding. So she, her husband is from Georgia, so they moved to Georgia right after the wedding. Literally, I think like 2 days later. So I haven't seen her since the wedding. But she's been having to come back here for doctor's appointments because still has a torn MCL, still have to deal with all of that. So it was really, really nice that we got to get together and we went to Pete's Seafood. And Kelly and I talked about this before because we had gone together and I had totally forgot about Pete's. And it's funny because at work a couple weeks ago, one of my coworkers was talking about it with her client. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I always forget about it. And it's like right here. And it's such great seafood. And then I was like, that reminds me, like, I have to go. And then, of course, like out of sight, out of mind, totally forgot about it again. We were making plans for lunch and trying to figure out where to go. And she was like, oh, she's like, I've never been to Pete's Seafood. And like, someone was just talking about it. And I said, yep, yes, yep, that's where we're going for lunch. Great. And I was reminded yet again that they're an East Coast family. And it is top tier. Like, if you guys have never been to Pete's Seafood in North Park, you have to go. It is so delicious. I get the lobster roll how you're supposed to get lobster rolls as a native East Coaster. Just toasted bun, hot, and butter. That's it. None of this mayo stuff that people do out here. That's weird to me. And then we got what else did we get? I think we got like calamari and then something else. It was so delicious. Like, again, if you guys have not been to Pete's, you have to go. And so our lunch date kind of got in the middle of my regular scheduled Thursday beach day, but we ended in enough time where I was like, okay, I can go get a couple hours in at the beach. And it was actually really, really nice. This is my favorite time of the year because everyone's back in school. No one's really vacationing here. We'll get a few for Labor Day, but nothing serious, like tons of parking and beach all to myself. So it was so, so, so nice. The water is so warm right now for the Pacific. So it is just delightful. And that was really my week. It was a great week. I think I got a lot in and worked a ton too. So it was a really nice little balance of things this week. Now let's get into the juicy things. Okay, update Lindsay Clancy trial. Okay. So, one, this week, this girl on TikTok is going viral for doing a Bratz doll reenactment of everything in a forensic way, trying to prove that like the blood splatters don't make sense. And this, like, it's actually like really good. And it's just like so funny how the internet works, like this is like a real life, real case. And like, we just have these amateurs out here trying to do better than the professionals. And I say that to say, because my client came in on Friday and she's a psychotherapist and she is the chief of where she works. And so she comes in and I said, I have been dying to talk to you because I need to pick your brain. And she was like, about Lindsay Clancy. And I said, yes. So we ended up having like an hour-long discussion, and she is on the side of she was not in psychosis. She was in the right sound of mind. She did do it, and the husband is innocent. And it was just so interesting because obviously she's a professional. This is what she does for a living. And if she were asked, to be an expert witness, this is exactly what she would say to them, that there was no evidence of this. And she said that it's been like such a discussion in the back room at work. And like she's been talking to all of her colleagues about it. And there was like a webinar on it where they were all discussing. And she said that even this guy that has been doing this for a very long time had said, I've yet to see a piece of evidence that supports that she was in psychosis. And that I was just like, wow. Like, and again, this is where it's so helpful to actually be a professional. And that is why they are being called into these cases. And they are the ones making the decisions and talking, because me just listening on the internet, I'm like, I wanted to be like, you're wrong. You're wrong with your medical background. You are wrong. I am right with my zero medical background. She said though that she does feel that the system failed her completely. She said it's so crazy that none of the doctors were talking to one another, even the fact that she was jumping from doctor to doctor, like it is still all in her chart, and that the pharmacy should have even known like not to be filling all of these prescriptions. I said, and it's so funny too, because I was like, he just looks like a creepy guy. Like he just looks like someone who would do something like this. And she was like, I just think he looks like an average guy. And I'm like, I do not think so at all. He gives me the creeps. And then I asked her, I was like, what about the body temperature? What about the fact that he changed clothes? And she said, do we know that though? And I was like, no, we know both of those things. And she was like, but is it really him on the camera? And I said, yeah. I said they followed it, like that's not being disputed, And she was like, because it just looks like an average guy to me. I feel like it could be anyone. And that's where she kind of lost me. And I was like, I don't know, maybe you're just like looking at this very differently. And obviously too, because it is her line of work. And she's like, she was, explaining to me how she sees a lot of crazy things happen, and especially with mothers. So she's like, she doesn't think that she should go to jail. She's like, I don't think that she should rot in prison for the rest of her life. She's like, but I do think that she did it, and I don't think that her husband did, and I don't necessarily think that she was in psychosis, but I do think that she was troubled from all of the medication and maybe not of the right sound of mind when it happened. Um, so we'll see. Closing arguments, I believe, are this week. And again, she is on trial and the jury has to decide beyond reasonable doubt. And I still don't think that that's the case. I still don't think that you can say beyond reasonable doubt everything points to it being her and that she wasn't in psychosis. I don't believe that that is the case. And so I am interested to see how long the jury deliberation is. Because I think that it could, yeah, I think that it could definitely be an interesting experience for the jury. Also, last weekend, because I recorded earlier with Sissy, we were able to talk about Jordyn and Karl Anthony Towns getting married. So they got married last weekend and she looked stunning. Like she just looked gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I can't say that about the guests. I am still confused today as to what the dress code was because we have Kylie in a black tie dress, and then we have Timothy. It looks like he was rummaging through a suitcase that he had no idea what clothes were inside and just kind of put a jacket, pants, and a shirt on and called it a day. And then like other people seemed very dressed down as well, but then other people seemed super glam. Like I don't know, like that the wardrobe vibe was so weird, but everything else was beautiful. The venue, the party looked great. I mean, it just looked like she was having the time of her life, which is obviously all you can hope for on someone's wedding day. And I loved that Kylie was there. Like, what a full circle moment. And her and Stassi were there together. Again, it just seems a little PR-y to like keep getting these like specific shots of the two of them. I don't know. I still think something is up between the two of them, but who knows? And then let's talk about Kim Zolciak's 15-year-old son who got arrested this week. So Kim Zolciak, if you guys do not know, she was formerly on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and then she had her own spinoff show, Don't Be Tardy, and then her daughter Ariana is on Next Gen NYC. So her 15-year-old son was arrested this week, and it was on sexual assault and sodomy charges. And so I was at work and my coworker was asking, she was like, did you see? And I said, yes. And then she was like, what is this? What does sodomy mean? And I said, I don't know. So then we looked it up. Not great. Not great. So allegedly he was arrested for anally raping a girl. And apparently this girl had reported him multiple times, talked about it with her grandmother, and this happened, I want to say in May, and it's now just, they have concluded enough evidence to arrest him. And I have been through this process with someone that I know. It didn't happen to me, but it happened to someone that I know. And I was there firsthand to witness and go through the process with them, which was one of the most eye-opening days for me because I had never known what actually goes into, getting a rape kit and how long it takes and all of those things. So the timeline does make sense because after everything had happened and then she had to meet with the officer again, they expressed to her like how this kind of goes and how long it takes. And it honestly is truly one of the craziest things because it takes a lot to be able to convict someone and to arrest them. And so for them to have enough solid evidence is not great. And truthfully, the way that she is describing it too, and like the way that she would speak to him and, tell him that she was not interested. I mean, it all seems very, very factual. And I think Kim made a statement, or maybe Croy made a statement saying how, none of his DNA was found on her, but there are certainly other things and other ways to find out. And that's just like crazy to me. Also, while simultaneously her or his oldest sister Brielle was on her bachelorette weekend this weekend, because prior to this news coming out, I saw a video of Ariana like posting for Brielle's bachelorette, and then we know they've had such a headline worthy divorce. I mean, I feel like we couldn't go a week or 2 days without getting another headline about their divorce. So it just seems like the Zolciak Biermans have a lot going on right now, a lot of bad going on right now other than Brielle's wedding. I mean, listen, if these things are true, absolutely hold him accountable for his actions. I hope that this is a learning experience for him. Not that I think it should have to happen to be a learning experience, but you can't obviously go back in time and change something. You can only go forward and grow and learn and be a better person. But absolutely, he should be held accountable for what he allegedly has done. So we will circle back and keep an eye out for the updates. And another big thing that happened this week was the Penn State cocaine ring arrest operation. So 14 people from Penn State, past and present students, were arrested in this large cocaine ring bust. And I just think it's the craziest thing because it was an ongoing 2-year investigation with an informant, and one person's transactions were $30,000. So this was not like some little, not that it would make it better or okay, but this was not some like little, I'm just selling a little Coke here and there, making my little extra money, whatever. Again, not that that makes that okay, but that's what you would commonly think of in like college campus stuff. They allegedly were using a distributor in Philadelphia, but then their operation grew too big, and so they had to start using a distributor from New York who was able to fulfill the quantity that they needed. We don't have a total number of money that they made from this that will be coming. We just know like certain people's transactions. But like what is so wild about this to me is that it was all taking place in 2 frat houses on campus. No one knew, which is also the other thing, because in sororities, I only know from my clients, not from personal experience, they have a house mom. And like sorority houses are strict. Like you can have a boy over, like none of the things. And when it comes to fraternities, like we don't care. Like no one is watching them. I've heard like from my friends that are guys that have been in fraternities, they're like, yeah, no, like they don't keep tabs on us. Like, and obviously like they can have girls over whenever. So just a little thing about hashtag sexism on that. Like the girls have all the rules, but the boys get to do whatever they want. And like, let's make that argument that who's probably doing more harm. But I digress. I've never been to college, so But yes, it's just okay. So it's just so crazy to me because they're coming out with all of these stories talking about how they were making some of the pledges like weigh, cut, and bag these. Allegedly, one kid took out borrowed $1,500 for a spring break trip from one of the guys, and as for payment, he had to deliver drugs around campus to pay off his debt to him. I just like I just like can't believe this. And it's like your whole life is over. I mean, like you're getting drug trafficking charges, like kingpin charges, and then like to see the kid's face who was like the head guy, the guy in charge, the guy at the top, like to see his mugshot and to see who he is, you're just like this guy is the Penn State kingpin. Like, it's just like what. And one of the guys involved, who was like one of like the top three slots of the people, his dad got arrested, and his dad is a lawyer, and his dad got arrested for allegedly hiding money and drugs. And apparently they were in a safe, and he said that he didn't know what was in the safe, but he was keeping it for his son. Sure. I mean, I don't know why it's such a wild story to me, because I feel like probably things like this happen all the time, but like a 2-year sting operation, how do you even, that's the other part about it, is like, how do you even get into that? Like, I'm sure obviously it was being done, I imagine, at a much smaller scale from an upperclassman or by an upperclassman. These guys join the fraternities, and it's like, hey, you want to make a little, couple extra dollars. That's what I'm assuming. I don't know if he himself like was the originator of all of this, or if he just took it over from someone and then scaled it up tremendously. Either way, it is just so wild, and I cannot wait to hear more details, because things like this to me are like so fascinating. Because what do you mean a group of frat brothers are smart enough to have a whole cartel operation? Like what? Like so crazy. Like you're there, like, and also like your parents are paying so much money for you to go to this school. Like go get an education, like go get your degree, like maybe stop selling drugs and go get a degree. Like what are we doing? You're at Penn State. Like be better. And then another interesting update is Farrah, Kyle Richards' daughter, has revealed not only the gender of her baby, but who the baby's father is. So if you guys do not remember, maybe about a month ago, a little longer, I had shared how Kyle Richards' daughter from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, her oldest daughter, had announced that she was pregnant. And then I talked about how it was kind of alluding that she maybe did this on her own, and I was really like happy for her. She did not do it on her own. She did it the old fashioned way, and she's got a new man. And that man may look familiar to some, because his name is Zach Goldsmith, and he works with her and her father. And if you guys watched Buying Beverly Hills, then you would absolutely recognize him. But you might recognize him having had a wedding ring on his finger during the show. He has been married for a long time. He has kids. Apparently, they are separated, and she gives her blessing to him and Farrah, which is obviously best case scenario, but very juicy, because on the show is actually when Farrah and her ex-fiance were breaking up, and Zach and her seemed to have had like a really good relationship with one another. And they were very flirty back and forth, but of course, again, like he was married, and people were speculating after watching the show. They were like, they looked a little too friendly to me, and if I was his wife, I'd feel some type of way. But like they did seem to have a genuine connection. So clearly things grew, and they grew that connection, and then they grew a baby together. So she's having a boy, and congrats to them. I actually am excited that she's having a boy, because she has um, 3 other sisters. So they've always been a house of girls, and now they finally get to add a boy to their family. So it is very exciting. They all looked happy. Like I said, his ex-wife, going to be ex-wife, whichever that may be, she did like give her blessing, and she was really happy for them. And so that is, like I said, the best situation that could come out of this. And mazel tov to the new parents. And like I said, guys, that was all this week's news. Like we had a juicy week of news. And before we wrap up, I do really quickly want to get into the Valley reunion because it's over and done with now. And I wanted to do it week by week and break it down, but I didn't have time left in the episodes. So let's get into it. First, what might be a controversial opinion, I'm Team Lacey. I'm Team Lacey in this whole Michelle, Jesse, Lacey situation. I just really appreciate how she communicates and how she presents herself, and I do also say that to say I absolutely understand Michelle's reactions towards things because, again, like I had previously spoke about, it has got to gut Michelle watching her ex-husband treat this woman exactly how she wished to have been treated by him in their marriage. So again, as a woman, you're always going to feel some type of way. I do, and Michelle does have a right to be upset about certain things. I do think that Jesse probably embellishes and maybe paints a slightly different picture than what's really happening. And so perhaps that's why Lacey feels the way she does about certain things. But I do wish that Michelle could just admit and acknowledge that in the beginning of their relationship, she probably did not handle things the best way and that she is sorry for that, but she can't. And I think that that would go a long way if she just could. I don't know. I feel like Jesse still has a chip on his shoulder. And not that I think that he is still in love with Michelle. I think that he's upset that a woman left him. I think that, like, it's like his ego versus him actually being in love with her still or yearning for her. And I do think that he makes little sly comments, and I don't like that because I don't think that that's helping anything or anyone. Um, my first reaction, actually, after all of them sat on the couch, was what the heck did Danny have done? He looked so manufactured. He looked plastic. He looked like a plastic doll. It was very weird. I don't know if it's like too much Botox or what, but I was not digging his look. He gave me the creeps. Um, and then Brittany kind of breaks down the situation with her old publicist. And, truthfully, until she had done that, I did not realize how close they were and that she was really a part of Brittany and Cruz's life. And like that to me is so gross. I mean, not only did you decide to be with Jax, which is already the worst decision making ever, but then to see what this woman has gone through from a personal level, not even from just a working standpoint, but really like being there and witnessing her and hearing it from her firsthand. I just am like, ew, like I don't like this woman even more. And then, Jax is, of course, like still trying to get his 15 minutes of fame. He will do anything to still be talked about. And so he's like going off on Brittany's parenting, online and stuff and posting on these blogs. And it's just like, it's just a whole hot mess. Again, I think that we maybe talked about this, but Brittany's outfit for the reunion. What was that? What was that? It was not good for her. It was not flattering for her. It did not do her any justice. It looked uncomfortable. She needs a stylist. She really needs a good stylist to step in and help her because that is an area of life that she is very much not the strongest in. The girl can throw a party. The girl can throw a party, but she cannot throw an outfit together. She cannot. That is one thing she cannot do. Janet still sucks to me. Her and Jason still don't like them. I feel horrible for what has happened to her in her past. I do understand that that is a very triggering situation and you'd never know when you are going to be triggered. Like I said before, I just feel like this is maybe something that we should have learned earlier on to understand from your viewpoint a little bit more. But I still do not think that her actions are justified. And because Danny has had such a horrible season, she feels like finally everyone is seeing what I was saying and like, how am I still the bad person? And it's like, no, you're still the bad person because like you're a cunt. And like, let's not forget that at the last episode, you threw a drink at this man. Like, you are a grown woman and you should not have done something like that. And like, yes, we can disagree with people. Yes, we can not get along with people, but you can't just like throw drinks on them because you don't like them. Like, that's just not what we're doing. Kristen and Luke, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna stand the test of time. It just seems like they are not on the same page. What I will say is I really commend Kristen for how much growth she has uh, showed. And, you know, he said some pretty harsh, blunt things. And she took it on the chin and she said, you know, I'd rather him be honest because that is how we work through things, which she could not be more correct about. I mean, that is so true. And you can't work on something you don't know about. But I just feel like, much like the Uber driver, I feel like his delivery was a little off. Um, I think that he wants to be back wherever he's from, Colorado, maybe. And that's just not going to ever be a life for her permanently. And I think that in the beginning, he may have been okay with the idea of living in LA. I don't think that he wants this for his life. And that is probably going to very much pose a problem. I do hope that they work it out. I feel the love between them, but it seems like with all of the stuff that has happened, like their divide keeps getting bigger and bigger. Uh, I love Lala. I've said it before. I will say it again. I love Lala. I think that she is great. She clocked Danny and very eloquently too. And again, let's remind everyone that she is sober, so she understands what being an addict is. And I love that she says, I am an addict. I am an alcoholic. I go to meetings on a regular basis. Like, I am around people. I understand the steps. I understand the stories. I understand the actions. And you have a problem. And you could see Nia just like kept like grabbing his hand or like grabbing his leg to just kind of stop him from reacting. And that's a problem. And I think that Lala called out every single thing exactly how we saw it. And it was so funny actually because Nia she just kept trying to be so poised and she was just like, you know, this is not our lives. And like, you guys only see a little snippet of it. And like, he doesn't drink when he's at home. Like, he only drinks at these social outings that we're on TV for. And, you know, he's a great dad and he's so present and he's so kind to me and he's so hands-on with the kids. And Lala's like, I'm only going off of what I saw on the show and what I experienced with you guys, and that ain't it. And my thoughts are exactly that. Like, okay, so if these are all one-off situations, why have we seen this for 2.5 seasons then? So if this is not your life, then show us your real life. Then why are you showing us a fake life? You know, if it's so easy to be this other person that you allege that he is, that then show us. It shouldn't be hard. It should just be very matter of fact. Like, this is our actual everyday life. But for 2.5 seasons, we have seen the complete opposite. So not buying it. Sorry. Like, again, until he comes to the conclusion. And I know that Nia knows, like, the way she just talks and acts and is like, you could just tell that she is tired, that she is exhausted, but she has 4 children with this man and she is going to try and do whatever she can to make it work. And of course, you cannot help someone unless they want to be helped. And I don't know what it's going to take for him to get there. I would have thought that he would be there by now, but he still doesn't see it, and I don't get it. Or maybe he doesn't want to see it, or whatever the case may be. But he definitely has a problem. And I would love it if they did not come back next season. I thought Schwartz had a great season. He was just kind of, you know, Schwartzy. Zach, I think, had a great season. Jasmine can go. Janet can go. Nia and Danny can go. Let's bring in some fresh faces of the friend group or the extended friend group. Honestly, get Katie back on there. I would love to see her back on the screen. I don't know where she stands with people, but I would love to see that. But yeah, overall was like whatever with the season. I would love a little switch up. And that also reminds me, over the weekend, I watched one of the worst reality shows. So, Khloe Kardashian put out a show called The Girls, and it was a show about her closest group of girlfriends. I use that phrase lightly because it seems like none of them are friends. It was such a bad show, and all of the comments online are saying the exact same thing. Me and my friends were texting about how bad it is. I mean, of course, I watched every episode, but I was just like stunned every single time because I'm like, this is so bad. They didn't make me envy any of their lives, and like that's what reality TV should be doing. Like, you're Khloe Kardashian's closest friends. Like, you guys should be living this fabulous, joyous life of like all the girls coming together. No, it was so cliquey. It was so mean girl. Iris was not painted in a good light at all. I don't really know her to know much about her. I know that she started off as Kylie's friend, and I see her on Instagram and everything. But she's a mean girl. I do not like her at all. And Natalie and Olivia, they are cousins, and they were on Wags originally. Then they had their own show together. And I used to love them. And I still do love them, but I feel like I don't know if it was the cameras, like not making them themselves, but they've been in front of cameras before. This was not their first or second time being in front of the cameras. So that was just like their behavior was very odd. I don't understand why we had to spend the whole season talking about Nicole and her husband's like lack of a sex life. Like, that just seems like a very boring and not important storyline, and it just is like uncomfortable. Malik and Khadijah, they're just there to me. I don't know. I actually really like Khadijah because we don't really get to see a lot of her. We obviously have grown up watching Malika a lot more on camera. Malika, I think, just is like trying to be the head person because obviously she's the closest to Chloe. But it was just weird. And then I think it was like the day the show 2 days before the show premiered, they all found out that they were their confessionals were scrapped, I don't know whatever word. They were taken out, and they didn't know why. But then Chloe narrated the whole season, so then it was even more bizarre because it was like she was narrating her friends' lives. And it seemed very much like House of Stassi in the sense of trying to create conflict. And because she was an executive producer of the show, she kept being like, I have to put my EP hat on. I have to be the EP. And then they would like FaceTime her. And it was almost like they were like tattletaling on each other to their boss. Like, it was just such a very odd dynamic. And I thought that this group of girls would be so fun to watch because outside of the show, again, this is how we know everything on Instagram is fake. It makes it seem like they're all super close and have been super close for years and live these really fun lives. And this just seemed like a chore for them. It seemed like no one wanted to be there. No one wanted to have fun as a group. There was always constant conflict. And it was a miss for me. And you know that I love Chloe and I want to support her, but that just wasn't it. It was not it. Spoiler alert, sorry for that entire season. Definitely go watch it. I think it's like 6 episodes. You're going to understand what I'm talking about. Because again, every single person has had this reaction of like, not good. Not good at all. And that's really all I have for you guys this week. So thank you for listening. Make sure to follow on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. All of the information can be found in the description below. If you're not, make sure you're subscribed. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I'm Kyra, and this is your reminder that having it mostly together still counts. See you next week. Bye.